Welcome to the Grand Review. This is the show where two knuckleheads from Belton, Texas, both sit down and we talk about movies, and we pretend like we know what we're talking about because we do, and how dare you question us. I'm your host, Garrett Ray, and joining me as always is the fantastic Andy Delia.
Hi, Garrett.
How are you doing, Andy?
Good. I'm doing better. Thank you.
All right, so we're on a bit of a time crunch today, so just a heads up front, there may be a time where I have to just keep us on track a little bit more than usual. I love the rabbit holes.
So do I. I got to go to a meeting about the 4th of July parade since my main assistant's not here. She's on vacation, so I got to fill in.
You have to work. Nerd!
I work all the time, other than you, Mr. I'm on set.
That is work. It's a lot of work to get to
so
set.
is mine.
I don't think so. I think that managers of places just sit around and give people orders and kick their feet up. Is that not the...
No.
I've been doing it wrong. No wonder I'm broke. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so this week we're talking about the Bikeriders.
Bikeriders, yes.
So basically, if you've never joined us on the show before, the way this works is we're going to do a spoiler-free review, and there will be time codes in the description if you want to jump around. But we're going to do spoiler-free review, and then we'll get into spoilers. We will let you know when that's happening, and then we might jump into some news here at the end. Depends on time for this week.
Yeah, I really didn't see a whole lot of news this week anyway, so everybody's getting ready for Deadpool. That's about what I'm reading.
Well, and we also want to talk about Hitman later.
Yes.
So I think,
yeah.
You know what? This week is different. There's no news.
Okay, so
the news is there's no news.
So we're actually going to review a movie on Netflix. That's new for us.
It's new and it's potentially sacrilege depending on how you look at it. But yeah. So the Bikeriders. Basically, this movie. I only saw about half the trailer for this before I was like, all right, that's all I want to know. I want to go in pretty blind, and I did. I went in very blind. I had no idea kind of what this was really like. It's basically the story of this bike club up in Chicago, and it's kind of it's not a slice of life piece. That's the wrong way to describe it, but it is here's just some of the events that happened, and you get to know a lot of the characters a little bit throughout that and stuff, but it's not like, I wouldn't call it the traditional.
It's interesting that the entire film is told from the point of view on one of the members' wives.
Right, yeah.
So it's an outside perspective on a motorcycle club, excuse me, like mid-60s to early 70s.
Yeah.
And just kind of how it evolves into a gang.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a very, I think, how would you put this? I should know that because I'm the host, but I'm sorry, that was not fair. We are equal partners in this.
Thank you.
Yeah, every week I bring you on. You're
matter.
on a weekly review, my man. No, I just misspoke. I'm sorry. I'm not narcissistic. I'm just stupid.
Yeah, wait till I hit you with that microphone later.
Oh, okay. Well, then I don't feel bad.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of just it's an interesting look into maybe a different sort of community than most people probably have experienced.
I mean, it's almost like I really drew a lot of parallels to this with Goodfellas. It's just not as violent and not as sociopathic.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different side of Americana that doesn't get seen a lot. And I know there's a very fine line between motorcycle gangs and motorcycle clubs. And that's even to this present day. So the film that this is based on is a book that the guy took a whole bunch of pictures, took some interviews, and made a book out of it. But, like I said, with it being told from the point of view of the wife, which is an outsider's perspective, I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And I
like Judy Comer, too. So that's even more satisfaction for this film for me.
This was a pretty star-studded cast. You've got Jodie Comer, you've got Austin Butler, Tom Hardy, Michael Shannon, Norman Reedus shows up.
Right.
There's a lot of Boyd Holbrook is in this, who most people are kind of hot or cold depending on the movie on it, but I think he did a good job. And then
I just thought Austin Butler was underwhelmingly used in this film. I thought there could have been more done with him.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's more, and this is not really a spoiler, but it is more down to his his character being this kind of emotionally stunted man.
Right. I wanted a little bit more out of him with this. And Tom Hardy is given second bill, but he might as well have been like the main character for most of it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, not surprising to me necessarily, but boy, I do think that the more I watch Tom Hardy and stuff, the more I'm just like, can you enunciate just a little bit? Just a little bit. Because like most of the time I can kind of pick out what he's saying, but I have to work at it so hard.
So you have to go back and watch Inception and This Means War, where he still has a British accent?
Yeah. Yeah. Much better. But now he's like, you're a podcast and you're talking and you knives. It's like, what are you doing? Just open your mouth. Just open it a little bit.
I guess he's been playing Venom too long.
Maybe so.
Because that you don't have to enunciate anything. You can just like slur your words and act drunk and
yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, his character is pretty much drunk the whole movie, so I guess it works in this one.
Some of it, but
I don't know, man. I think his performance is good, but it's very Tom Hardy. It is.
Yeah.
I think you kind of know what you're getting with him at this point. And maybe it's just because I haven't seen some of the other stuff he's in, but I feel like he's kind of like Tom Cruise in the sense that he's going to give a performance that puts off a certain air. And that's what you're going to get. Venom, he's a little more like frantic as a person, but it's not that different, really.
I think the one that's a little bit different for him is Legend, where he plays
the twins,
right? The Cray brothers, which was originally done by the guys from Spandau Ballet in a film called The Crays, and then they came out. Probably there's a good amount of time between each of the films, and then they did it with Tom Hardy. That's actually one where I think he has to act more and give more emotion and range to his performance rather than just mumbling all of his lines.
Yeah, yeah.
But it sounds like, I don't like him, but that's not true. I really do like Tom Hardy.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying if you've seen Tom Hardy act, you know what you're getting from Tom Hardy in this movie. And that's not... Look, reliability is great.
And that's probably why he got casted.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, the part definitely fits that sort of that sort of performance, that sort of stoicism.
The part fit Austin Butler too. Like he was right for that role.
Yeah.
Just I was hoping for a little bit more.
I was hoping to get to know Benny a little more.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I also think that what the movie's doing is kind of is to show you like you can't know Benny. Benny is chaos in himself, and that's just all there is to him. And you're not going to get closer than that. And until a certain
things
point,
change, yeah.
So yeah, I guess. But before we get into spoilers, though, I guess just very quickly, let's just talk about a little bit about the technical stuff that was really good. I think the sound mixing was fantastic.
Yes, the bikes.
Yeah,
and the music.
Yeah, the music.
The music was spot on. I just loved the soundtrack to this film.
And the way that they use it to, like, when they start and stop it is very much, you can feel that it's an intentional, like, we're not just putting music in here.
Right.
The music starts or stops based on what's happening, why it's happening, and the tone that you need to feel at that exact moment when people achieve freedom, and when they, when things stop being fun, all of that. It's great.
And everybody borrows that from Scorsese. Scorsese is the master at doing that. And this is another one that people really pick up on that and take cues from that and use them in their own films. And I think that's great. Yeah. Like, I don't think it's copying that much. I think it's using the techniques that you should be using for this kind of film.
Yeah, and it definitely, it kind of harkens back to the adventure serials and Indiana Jones, where a battle starts and it's like Shake, Rattle, and Roll starts playing, and it hits on the beat where the glass connects with the guy's head for the first time. It's that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I think really, really good use of the sound there. I also think that it looks beautiful.
Yes.
Adam Stone was the cinematographer who did the TV miniseries Waco American Apocalypse.
Oh, that was good.
He was the director of photography on Trainwreck, Woodstock 99, which I've actually seen. Good documentary.
I've seen it in more ways than one. I was there.
Wait, were you?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yes.
You do
I
love
was
music.
at Woodstock 99.
So were you one of the people who accidentally played around in the mud that was really just human sewage?
No.
Oh, good.
That is probably like one of the worst concert experiences I've ever had.
I think a lot of people can say that.
Yeah, like in the documentaries, there's been 2 documentaries about that, and I still don't think it even scratches the surface of the stuff that I saw firsthand. Yeah. It doesn't even come close.
That might be something that we should just sit down and record for posterity. It's just what happened at Woodstock 99.
Just it's I don't like reliving it, to be honest, just because I generally didn't take a shower or a bath for 3 days.
Ooh.
And I felt really scummy, really awful. And just watching the level of stupidity around me.
Yeah.
Like, I still reflect on going, how are just people that obnoxious in the world?
Yeah.
And it sickens me. It still does to this day.
Was that the one? Because I watched several documentaries about ruined concerts and festivals and things. Fire Festival, obviously.
The Fire one's, yeah, the Fire one's a good one.
Both of them are good, actually.
Yeah.
Was Woodstock 99 the one where they were on a tarmac?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
it was an old abandoned Air Force base.
Wow.
And it was hot.
I'm sure it was. Yeah.
Like the ground just mirrors that sun, and it baked the whole day, and it was $10 for a bottle of water. Ugh. And the commercials
in 1999,
right?
That's $145 now.
And
I don't know if that's true.
When me and my friend were there, and we started watching everything hit the fan, we just ran, and we were scared. That's one of the few times in my life I was actually scared for my life.
Well, I don't have a segue to get us back on topic, so I'm just going to swing back that way. I'm glad you're alive. There we go. I'm glad you're alive, so we can be here, so we can talk about the Bike Riders. Perfect segue.
Yes.
Got it on the first try. So the Bike Riders overall, generally, I think it's a well-made movie. I think it's an interesting, kind of look at Americana. And Jeff Nichols was the director and wrote it for the screen based on the book. He also, 2011, he did Take Shelter, which he worked the same director of photography on. Yep. And then, he's done Midnight Special was another one that he did. I remember that coming out.
Okay.
A movie called
that one I don't remember, but
Loving, which...
that
was the one about Loving versus Virginia, which invalidated some state laws prohibiting interracial marriage. So I think he kind of just loves history a little bit. Oh, he did Mud.
Oh, the one with Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that movie.
So same director.
Cool. I didn't know that.
But yeah, overall, what would you say? Is this a recommend for you, or
I would just be prepared for what you're going into, because it's not a please and thank you kind of film. It is a little rough. It's interesting that opening day we got a complaint from a older woman that told us that it should be rated X, that it's pornographic, and how awful it was. And I was told this right before I was walking in to go see it. So I was like, all right, I'm ready for this now. And I sat there going, this is just a basic R-rated film. There's only one sex scene, and unless you're looking for it, you won't see it.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And I mean, some of it's uncomfortable.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's violent, it's vulgar. Yes.
Norman Reedus' teeth.
Right.
Uncomfortable. It's like watching a British film.
See, and I still think that they changed that. Like, I think that character was supposed to be from Hell's Angels, but
maybe
they had to change
rights,
that. Right. And well, you don't mention Hell's Angels in movies and that. It's just not done.
Oh, is it? Okay. There's something I don't know about this then.
Yeah, it's kind of a taboo thing.
Okay, I'll look that up. We're going to try and stay on topic.
Yeah.
but okay, I'll look more into that.
I thought that's going to be a spoiler. Never mind. I will pass over that. But yeah, even the guy that played Tom Hardy's second in command, the blonde hair guy.
Yeah. What was his name? It's not Benny. It's Brucey. Damon Harriman.
That guy was really good.
He was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think he was in. He was in Mindhunter. Okay. Yeah. He played Charles Manson in Mindhunter.
Really?
Oh, watch Mindhunter, man. It's so good. It's so good. I'm so mad that
that's
it's
definitely a
not
departure
continuing.
from this.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, no, super likable in this. Much more likable, and I know this is controversial, but more likable than Charles Manson. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to go out on a limb.
Well, I would hope so. Psychotic chew toy that he is.
Well, to be fair, though, he apparently was very charismatic himself. Most cult leaders are. And I've learned through my interactions with women throughout my life and the fact that I don't have a cult that I have no charisma. So,
yeah, but you got Hannah. That's just as good.
I know, but she took pity on me.
Ouch.
No, I'm
See,
kidding.
I'm trying to build you up, and then you just like
I
slap
will
yourself
never
back
allow
down.
that. Never. No.
It's almost like you're a guinea pig in a secret force.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think so. Did you have more thoughts you wanted to share?
No. I'm just. It's a good movie. Just be aware. Like it's not a hard R, but it definitely earned its rating for a reason.
Yeah.
And if you like that kind of thing, and heavy drama, this is definitely a good one for you.
Yeah, it's heavy drama would be a good way to put it. I
Because
think
it's just not a nice film.
No, it's not. It's not an. I don't want to say it's not entertaining.
It's not
but
depraved or
necessarily-
disgusting, though.
Right? Yeah. It's not entertainment. It's a story.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yes. No, that makes perfect sense to me.
And I appreciate that about it. Like it knows exactly what it's trying to do, and it executes that really well. And it does have enough of kind of character moments, and there's a lot of characters in this movie. There's a lot.
It's a little hard to keep them straight at times, but I think they do a good job with the narrative to keep you on track throughout the entire film.
Yeah, and they definitely, they introduce everyone up front, and then they reuse people's names so that you don't get confused. Like, and it's not like first year script writing where everyone just says everyone's name all the time because people don't know how to write. It is intentional, I think, and well done and spaced out enough that you're keeping track without getting annoyed by it necessarily.
I would have liked to have seen this shot in black and white personally.
Me too. I think that would have made it so much better.
Okay, so I'm glad I wasn't the only one that was.
Yeah. Because it is, just because they show the pictures at the end, you're just
right.
like, yeah, I would love to see a black and white version.
Yeah.
And yes, I know you could just turn the saturation down on your TV at home if you want to watch it later, but that's not the same.
Not the same.
Contrast with color is not the same as contrast with black and white. And I fight you if you say it is. That's why it takes so long to do like the black and chrome editions of the Mad Max movies, because you have to go through and change everything. So, anyway, but yeah, I would say that if you are interested in bike clubs and that culture and learning a little bit more about kind of a different side of America during the 60s and early 70s, I think this is a great window into that. I don't think for me it stuck out as like a must-see movie sort of thing. It's definitely not an event movie.
This is one I will probably own.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I really did like it that much.
I like it. I just and this is, I think this is a personal taste thing. This is a personal like, what will I spend my time on?
Right. See, and I probably
in
like grittier, a little bit more dirtier films than you do.
Well, and I like gritty, dirty films. When I walked out of this one, I was like, okay, well, that was an interesting movie, but it wasn't one that like, if I had missed it, I would feel like, I really wish I had seen that, and I really like, I missed the Planet of the Apes movie, and I'm just like, moron, why did you miss that?
Yeah,
and I don't think I would have felt that way about this one.
Didn't miss a whole lot, to be honest.
I know, but big monkeys.
Who were ethically treated, by the way.
Of course, because they were humans, and and the standards are much lower for actors than they are for taking care of wild animals. But yeah, no, I would say if you're interested in this, you're going to like it.
Like, I want to get the book.
I'm interested in reading the book too. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that I'd like to know more about,
right?
Because I've seen this, and the casting they did was fantastic. Actually, a lot of those guys look like the guys they were playing.
Yeah, the casting was spot on.
Yeah,
especially when you see those pictures like through the credits.
Yeah.
You're almost like, wow, where did they find like the people that really look like the real people? Even The only one that was kind of off actually was Judy Comer.
Yeah, she was too short. So, well, there were other differences, but I'm not going to comment on people's looks. That's rude, and I only can comment on my own looks.
I wouldn't say Judy Comer is
no. Jodie Comer is very pretty. Yeah, sorry.
Jodie.
It's Jodie. Sorry,
Jodie.
That wasn't me trying to correct you. I just looked down at her name and happened to read it properly. And so I also could not shake the feeling that it was like, this is our Winona Ryder, for a new generation.
Kind of.
She's fantastic. She's really, really, really good. And I think it's just the eyes. She has the eyes, and sometimes the way that she moves, she kind of has some of those Winona Ryderisms. But I wouldn't take my kids to see it.
No,
but it's a different kind of movie than
I did take my 19-year-old daughter to see it, though.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think it was anything beyond that she had not seen before. So I was pretty comfortable sitting there. Just, how much do you know about this kind of world?
Yeah.
And it is interesting to get that insight into it.
The crazy part to me is that, I kind of forgot it was rated R, because there's nothing in this movie that I feel like you wouldn't see on the grounds of an American high school.
Hopefully not BHS.
Well, not the.
Actually, BHS you see worse anymore.
Well, it's been a while since I was there, but no, I mean it's just the language, the people getting into fights and stuff. I'm just like, actually, these guys have more honor than most of the morons I went to school with. So.
I would have to agree with that.
But it's good. I wouldn't discourage anyone from seeing it. I also don't think I would say like everyone's got to go see it, because I think it is kind of a subset of people that are going to be very interested in it.
Right.
But it is for those people, and it has enough stuff for a general audience that isn't bothered by seeing kind of this side of life.
Right.
That I think it is entertaining and engaging and well paced. Like. I have no technical problems with this movie. I don't have any story problems. I don't have any pacing problems, no audio problems. It wasn't like my favorite thing I've ever watched, but I cannot fault it.
From a technical aspect, you were perfectly satisfied with this, rather than
I wasn't distracted by it at all.
The last couple of Star Wars films.
Oh, you want to talk about Star? Okay, all right. We don't have time today, Andy. We don't have time. And then you can't hear it on the audio, but my face just twisted and contorted like I've been.
I knew that
I was dealing with an exorcism.
Yes,
why would you do this to me? It's so rude.
Because it's interesting to see you get that worked up over it.
Wait till we talk about The Hobbit. Oh,
I've never seen The Hobbit.
You're welcome.
I've seen the animated one. I haven't, and
You're
I own
lucky,
it.
I meant.
I've never seen the live action one.
Enjoy those DVD cases on your bookshelf, and don't ever take them down.
Digital download. I think I got it for free.
Oh, well, yeah, then you got ripped off.
That remains to be seen with the one that's coming out for Christmas this year.
We still don't know anything about that, do we?
No.
Not really.
I still tend to wonder if it's coming out. Because I haven't even... Normally about now you see trailers for Christmas and Thanksgiving. There hasn't been anything for it.
Maybe they'll just shadow drop it on Paramount Plus, the world's best streaming service.
At least it's not as bad as Max.
Why do I have to turn my TV up to 100%? That's not right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think, look, maybe I sound like I'm being harsher than I am, but I would say if you see the trailer and you're like, that looks interesting to me, you're going to enjoy this.
Yeah. The bad part about it is we're losing it in a couple of days.
Is it really? It's already?
Yeah, like next Tuesday is going to be the last day.
Wow. Yeah. Has sales been low?
It did a lot better than I anticipated. I was hoping it would do well, just because originally this film was supposed to come out last December.
Oh, it was?
And they moved it.
Oh,
and it actually had another studio. It was Fox Searchlight that was supposed to put this out, and they sold it to Focus. Which normally stuff like that is not a good precursor.
Right.
When it comes out, normally the movies are a dud.
Yeah.
This one was like surprisingly really good.
Yeah.
And I think it helped moving the release date. But there's only going to be a certain section of people that are going to seek this out.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think that's something you should hold against it.
Not at all.
Okay. You know what? I've changed my opinion. You should see this. It's good. I don't think you'll curse yourself into your own grave if you don't see it, but if you do see it, you'll be like, yeah, that was an interesting thing I found
Here's
out
a good
about.
thing too. Like Jessica wasn't real thrilled about seeing it. She went because I wanted to see it.
Yeah.
And she actually liked it a lot.
Well, that's
So
that's the most
and she liked
wonderful
it for,
compliment a movie can get.
Yeah, well, just about the same reasons that I liked it. The fact that it was told from the wife's point of view.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting.
Yeah, it was. I think it was showcasing that sort of, I guess, that kind of subsection of male American culture at the time, and then giving you perspective on it as well from what it was like from the other side.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't become like a hoorah macho, an obnoxious
No,
thing.
and it's not
an honest look at it.
ultra
from both
violent
sides.
or anything
No.
either, to the point that like the only part that's kind of uncomfortable was when Benny punches the glass.
Yeah.
And he has the glass sticking out of his fist.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's nothing that you haven't seen in like Bad Boys or any of the other action films.
I'm pretty sure I've seen most of this stuff in a Lego movie at some point. I may be watching different Lego movies than you. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you might be.
I found them on the internet. They should be fine. They're Lego. All right. Well, let's get into spoilers then.
Okay,
I think
yeah,
let's talk
definitely.
deeper about this. I was not surprised at all that Johnny got shot.
No.
That was, of course, that
And
was where
that
that
was
ended.
the other fascinating thing about this film, to see the progression of going from a club to a gang. And
Yeah.
once they got the young kids in it, it went to hell.
Yeah.
We're like real fast.
Yeah.
And that's actually what happened with a lot of the bicycle clubs that eventually evolved into gangs. The younger kids that were coming in were headstrong. They were more angrier. They were more out to prove that they belonged there. And they did anything that they could to, perpetuate the stereotype. And it's kind of sad in a way that they did, because there's the one kid, that eventually kills Tom Hardy, that
Literally just called the kid.
it didn't need to go down that way, but it made sense that it did.
Right, yeah, and you see just enough of the situation he's coming from, and it's like, well, of course
Right.
he's a messed up kid who wants to rebel
Right.
because he feels like his whole life's been unfair and stuff, and that doesn't justify any of his actions ever.
No.
But yeah, it's interesting to kind of look at that, and it's funny because you see how Johnny came up with it, and it's him watching. Oh shoot, it's not Marlon Brando, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was the wild one.
Yeah. What are you rebelling against? What do you got? And he goes, what do you got? Well, sorry, that was too easy to understand what I was saying. He goes, yeah. Well, how? But yeah, it kind of starts with that, and it is about rebellion. It is about having this, this gang of guys that don't care. Jody says at one point, sorry, Kathy is her character's name. Kathy says that he always loved Benny because Benny had what he wanted, which was that he didn't care about anything.
Right.
And so you see that, and you see that need for that freedom, or that ability to be loose and be free and not care.
But at least
And
Benny
then-
knew when it came time when they wanted him to take control, that he knew that he could not control those kids.
Right, yeah.
And he was like, I'm out. I'm
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to end well.
I think it's interesting to see how different generations rebel.
Yeah.
And there's not a single generation that doesn't.
Right.
Every last one of us rebels against what our parents wanted. My parents listened to Journey. Well, I was going to listen to Skillet. Like it was. I mean, most of that's my brother's fault. I wouldn't have known anything if he hadn't brought it in the house. But it was, and by fault I mean I like Skillet. Whatever. But yeah, I think it's interesting to kind of see how the rebellion for the older guys was just getting together and riding and talking about motorcycles and being,
Right. And racing.
sitting on something that says I'm a free American instead
Yeah.
of, I'm a responsible dad. And
But
then
it was
after that,
interesting.
it gets
They
worse.
showed that dichotomy, that they all had separate lives that they went back to outside of the club. It wasn't just them being, laying around drinking beers all day.
Although that is most of what they did on screen.
Yeah.
It's I think it was depressing to me to watch, and maybe this was why I was kind of like, because I think I was sitting there watching a bunch of men who were dealing with orphan heart issues, where they felt like they were on their own, so they were going to make their own path, and they just kind of were looking for a place to belong because they'd never.
Okay, but to some extent, you still have to admire that for the trying to make their own way, regardless of what was going on in their past or how their lives were turning out.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the best that most of us can do.
Right.
But the reason I say orphan heart issue is, I mean, okay, I'm going to say a personal belief here. You don't have to agree with it. But a lot of times when we as people get to that place where we start going off into this other path, and maybe it's a little bit rougher or whatever, we're like, I'm going to do it myself. It is something that is a kind of that hole in our heart that God's supposed to fill. We're trying to fill with something else. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it was depressing for me, because I was sitting there watching these guys doing it and going, this isn't going to bring you peace in the end. And for most of them, it doesn't. I mean, they get shot and beat to heck and all kinds of stuff. Again, I know that's a personal thing, and so I'm trying to be honest about that bias. That's why it was sad for me to watch more than it was like, get him, that kind of stuff.
Well, I wasn't even like, get him, but it's just, like I said before, the younger kids come up and the older guy, even the older guys and the guys that started the club, they knew what was going to happen, and they chose to leave.
Yeah. And then for the ones that didn't, it's like, well, I get that this is where you feel you belong, but also this is
Cockroach is
really
the one
bad,
the character that you probably had more sympathy for than anything.
Absolutely.
But yet it's interesting how his life turned out, that he ended up being a motorcycle cop.
And the only way out was to get shot in the leg.
Right.
Okay, so I do want to ask a little bit about that. So he stage a
himself
break-in.
from Cockroach.
So they stage a break-in so it looks like he died, or just because
No, it was to make it look like he had died.
Okay.
Because those other guys they were going to kill him.
Right.
They were not going to let him go.
Right.
And then the other interesting fact to this whole movie is that they were not called the Vandals. The real club was called the Outlaws.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, Vandals seems...
It's a little more...
it's funny.
Cinematic.
I like Outlaws better, because Vandals just seems like, so you guys just like tag walls and stuff.
Well, I always think, every time you say Vandals, I think of the punk band, the Vandals. So that's kind of where I was. Maybe they did that on purpose.
Maybe, yeah.
Hard to say.
Why not use the real name, I wonder?
Might have been just to kind of change things to protect certain people. With true stories like that, it's very touchy, like what you keep directly to a film and what you have to change.
Yeah. We'll talk about that with Hitman.
Rights to. Yeah. That changes a lot.
Just a little bit. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think that watching through this movie and seeing Kathy being she's kind of this strong woman in and of herself, and then seeing her still get put in these situations where her association with Benny and with Johnny and all the guys has really put her in a tough spot.
Yeah.
And seeing her like begging Benny to stop, to realize what's happening,
right?
And to just go away with her, and then it's like he's like, okay, I'll stop, I'll realize what's happening, and we'll go. Well, no, I'll go. What was that about? Why did he leave her?
I think it was that restless spirit that he had to go his own path, regardless of where it took. Yeah, I know. Seriously,
moron. You
if I wasn't married and I had her in my life, I would have been staying with her.
I just can't imagine, like, if you have someone that loves you enough to put up with all of your crap for
and to
that
put up
long,
with all these idiot guys that are around you,
right? If I had one friend like this, my wife would just be like, I'll see you when you're not around.
So Hannah doesn't like me. Okay, I see.
That's why we canceled on last week's showing. I'm so sorry to tell you. No. It's just it was harrowing to see them dragging her up the stairs or trying to drag her up the stairs at the party.
That's a tough scene.
And it really, and another thing I liked about that is that it really is focused on her face through most of that.
Right.
It's focused on look at what she's experiencing, not the guys around her. They don't matter. Not
Right.
really. They're just some of the new guys. They don't matter. It's about what's happening to her.
Right.
And I think that this movie does a really good job overall of kind of zeroing in on, whoever your point of view character is in the scene, giving you enough of information of what they're dealing with to kind of go, okay, I'm empathizing with this person that it's trying to tell me I should be empathizing with, and I really enjoyed how well that was done.
Yeah, I agree.
And you know, there's moments where you're kind of empathizing both with Kathy and with Benny, you know, when they're having their argument about whether or not to leave and stuff, But yeah, you're mostly empathizing with Kathy because Benny kind of sucks. Let's be honest. Benny sucks.
Until he wises up and after what's his face gets shot. No.
Well, at the end, so I want to talk about the end then because I think that this leads into that. And did he wise up or not? Because at the end, he's out there and she's going, yeah, we're happy. And you look out and you see him and he starts listening to a motorcycle in the distance. And then he smiles at her, but he kind of smiled when he was looking away, kind of listening to the motorcycle first. Okay. Did he wise up? Does he miss it? I don't know.
Yeah, he misses it. But I think he realized what was best in life for him at that point, and settling down with her was the best thing he could have done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he got whatever he needed to get out of his system. And then he was ready to go back to her and be the husband that she wanted.
Well, apparently all he needed to get out of his system was some saline. Like, dude, just cry. If you're just emotionally constipated, just get a couple tears out.
That character was such a father figure to him too. So it made sense.
And I think that their relationship is understated. To a degree, but it is well built. And
that's where I wish there was a little bit more.
Me too. Yeah, I think I wanted to see more of Benny caring for Johnny, not just being a wild card.
Yeah.
And I think that if I had a criticism, that would be it.
That would
and it wasn't like a huge glaring issue. But it did make you go, well, I want to understand that dynamic a little more.
Right.
Like, how did they meet? We don't.
Right.
We don't know how they met. Like, did Johnny, save him from a ticket, or I don't know.
Well, and there's probably so much time that they have too, and depending on how long the book is, and
this movie is 116 minutes, so it's just button right up against that 2 hour mark.
But if they made it longer, I think it would have lost the pacing, and it wouldn't have been as interesting.
Yeah, and I wonder if some of that was shot and left on the cutting room floor, because that happens.
Maybe, yeah.
And I'd be interested, when this comes out on not DVD anymore, Blu-ray.
Even home video.
Yes,
I just refer to it as home video now.
Coming to Disney Home Video.
Can you? I get Deadpool's on Disney Plus now, so.
What is life? But I think I would love to see any deleted scenes and extra stuff.
What was missing?
Because I think the movie is perfectly fine as it is.
Yeah.
But I would love to know a little bit more.
And it's very rare that we I know for me to say that too, because there's always something that's kind of off, or there's no such thing as a perfect film in my eyes.
No.
But this is
one shot. Austin Butler's eyes were just ever so slightly out of focus. While he was sitting on the bike outside of her apartment up at the beginning of the movie.
I'm not as picky as you are.
It was just focused a little bit more towards the front of the ear than to the eye, but it's not a big deal, and it was technically within acceptable focus.
Okay,
it was just a little bit. So yes, there's no perfect movie. Other than that, though, great.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else you want to talk about with this one?
No, I think we covered it.
Michael Shannon good performance.
Yeah, which kind of gives you a little bit of insight in the Vietnam War too,
Yeah.
and kind of how messed up that was, even just from his experience.
Yep, and because he wanted to go and they wouldn't let him.
Right.
Yeah. I did not know it was Norman Reedus when he showed up.
Oh, I knew exactly.
I was like, it kind of looks like face I know, but then
I know he wanted to have a role in this because he's such a motorcycle enthusiast.
Yeah.
So it didn't surprise me.
It's
And he was in the trailer too. If you had watched the entire trailer.
well, Andy, I don't know what to tell you. I need a
you're
clean
a Cliff
palate
Notes kind of
before
person.
No, I'm not. I'm not a Cliff Notes kind of person. I'll read the long form summary. But yeah, no, I thought his performance was really good, and then the credits rolled, and I was like, Norman. Oh, duh! Of course that was Norman Reedus. But
I just wonder if that was true. If he was hired to like sit on a motorcycle outside of Easy Rider and like try to drum up business.
I don't think you would make that up.
It's funny.
I don't think that's exactly the kind of weird, dumb stuff that people do for promotional stuff.
Right.
Speaking of which, if you come by and buy an episode of the podcast, we'll give you a microphone.
So you missed this weekend too, where we had Horny Tone Harley Davidson lent us 3 motorcycles that were in the lobby.
I saw. I wish I could have come out and got some of that.
It was great when like they rode them into the lobby from outside. That was awesome.
I do not envy the crew that had to clean up the tire tracks though.
There were none. They
didn't put tires on it.
No, well, they were professionals.
I'm sorry, that wasn't funny at all.
No, it wasn't. So I chose to ignore it. And I'm moving on.
Fair enough.
As you choke to death on your bad joke as well, you should.
I'm trying to. Sorry, I was eating crow and got caught in the wrong one.
Yeah, and got the feather kind of stuck in there.
But yeah, I think overall it was just it was very good.
It's a good movie.
And that's all I'll say about that.
Yep.
You want to talk about Hitman?
Hitman. Yeah. So let's get into this.
All right, spoiler free. So basically, this as well went in not having seen a trailer. All I saw was some still image promotional stuff.
Honestly, I hadn't either. I had read about it when Richard Linklater was making this film, and I was already sold just from what I had read.
I was not sold until I heard from you on this show that it was a Richard Linklater movie.
Oh, okay.
And then I went, okay, I guess I'll watch it. And I was going to watch it when I was on my anniversary trip with my wife. But the Airbnb we were staying in, the speakers were terrible on the TV, just terrible. Okay. So we watched Fun with Dick and Jane because I'd already heard it before. But I was like, if I'm going to watch a new movie, I want to give it I don't have a great sound system at home, but it's better than
there's
those.
Your mistake right there too. You're on your anniversary trip with your wife and you're watching TV. No, you screwed up right there.
We had been at the beach all day. We were tired.
Doesn't matter.
And we were watching something while we were just winding down, and we were talking about stuff over the movie.
If that was my wife, I'd have gotten screamed at.
I don't know what to tell you. I married the right woman.
And you're trying to say,
I love you, Jessica. No, I didn't mean that.
I married the wrong. Really? Yeah, you're going to get it next time she sees you.
No, I'm sorry,
because you
Jessica.
know she listens to this.
I'm sorry, Jessica. I was just saying the right woman for me. So,
well, I found the right woman for me. So there you go.
I know you did. Jessica's great. We love her.
She is.
But I think we had just watched. We had just watched a recap video that we had shot on our honeymoon about everything we could remember from our wedding day. So we'd watched that, and we had talked and had our sappy moment. And then she was like, "You want to watch something?" And I was like, Fun with Dick and Jane. That's a dumb movie. We don't care about that, and we can talk.
So you watched the Jim Carrey one or the original one with Jane Fonda?
The Jim Carrey one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen the original one. I don't like Jane Fonda at all.
I remember seeing it at the drive-in when I was a kid with my parents.
Well,
and George Segal was the male lead in that.
I know that name, but I cannot place the face.
Oh, he was in Just Shoot Me, the TV show. He was the owner of the magazine. That's the only thing I can think of that you might have seen.
Well, I'm looking at his face now, and yep, I know that face. Yep.
Okay.
Cool. So Hitman. No one cares about my anniversary trip. It was a good time, and I love my wife.
Okay, good. Yes.
But yeah, I wanted to watch Hitman then, but speakers were terrible, so we watched it last night.
Okay.
And
well, you do everything at the last minute.
I do everything so it's still fresh by the time I sit down. What, you want a stale movie review? No, thank you. So
I saw Bikeriders last Friday. I saw Hitman probably a week ago.
And quite frankly, I think that you were a little fuzzy on the details. So I'm just kidding.
Oh man.
I'm just saying I want
This may be the last podcast.
the little ear biscuits that we hand out on this show. I want them to be fresh and hot and steaming. And also, I work a lot, man. We
so
both
do
work
I.
a lot. I know, but I'm just saying. Also, when you texted me and were like, "No, I can't do Friday last week," I was like, "All right, I'll have to worry about this till the day of then," and then went off and did something else.
Okay.
Okay. So Hitman is about it was based on a true story, using finger quotes here. Loosely. Based on a true story of a guy who kind of moonlights working with the police, helping do sting operations for people who want to hire a hitman. And he, by happenstance, ends up getting called in to be the hitman on a job. And that turns into a passion of his. So he does a lot of this work with the police. He also is a professor of psychology, so it's kind of like field research for him. And then he meets someone on a job that changes everything.
Yep.
And I don't want to. Our spoiler-free part of this is going to be pretty short, I think.
Yeah, because that's the big. I know the original story of this was in Houston is where it took place.
Yep.
And they moved it to New Orleans. I don't know why. Maybe just a more interesting location for this than Houston, because Houston's kind of. Ugh.
Oh yeah, Houston's gross.
Yeah. It is.
I mean, look,
I would much rather look at New Orleans too than Houston. So.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Texas, but Houston. Never mind that traffic. I mean, jeez.
Yeah.
I think we should start with your opinion on this, because that's how we do this.
I always Richard Linklater is one for me that doesn't disappoint. I like what he does. I like the stories he comes up with. And this is no exception.
Yeah.
There's enough twists and turns to this and to see how things play out. Because most of the film, you're really watching this going, where does this go?
Right?
Like, okay, you're in this situation now. How are you going to get out of this?
Right. And why do you keep going deeper?
Right. And, you don't agree with the character's choices. And that's an understatement, because you're sitting there going, oh my God, how stupid are you?
Right.
And it's Glenn Powell. And this is probably the best thing I've seen Glenn Powell to, where he actually had to act.
Yeah.
Not just stand there and be a pretty boy.
So I think we talked about this on the show a couple weeks ago. Glenn Powell, I was like, they keep making up new famous people, and I don't care about this guy. I've come around on him. Glenn Powell's performance in this is charming as all get out.
I'm still not looking forward to Twisters, but
yeah, well, that's
but this actually is. It has substance,
and it is under Richard Linklater's direction specifically. Right? I think it works because of that. They are allowing characters to kind of ham it up a little bit. It's not over the top. It's not.
And he was also the producer too of this
and writer. Yeah. Glenn Powell was like, he wrote this with Richard Linklater. And I found out actually recently that today, I found out that Richard Linklater had wanted to make this for a long time, like since the book came out in the early 2000s, and was like, I want to do something with that. And had just kind of like sat on it for a while. And then Glenn Powell reached out to him out of the blue and was like, hey, have you heard this story about this fake hitman? I want to do a movie about it. And then it was like, I guess we're doing it. But yeah, Glenn Powell's performance in this is really great. I think the performances across the board are very strong and interesting. There is not a single boring moment in this whole movie.
No.
And I actually, I'll get into that in spoilers, but I loved this movie. Hitman is like, it's probably in my top 10 at now.
I wish they would have released this in theaters, to be honest, rather than Netflix.
Me too.
Like, this is something, this is made for the big screen.
I wanted to see this on a big screen. I got 10 minutes into it and was just like, because at home I have a really hard time not picking up my phone. If I'm in a movie theater, it's off and I don't think about it.
Yeah, same here.
But when I'm sitting at home, I have a really hard time. With this, I did not have that issue. I was fully engrossed in it from the very beginning. It was truly, truly an entertaining film. I'm much more jazzed about this than I am about Bikeriders.
And Richard Linklater definitely has a knack for doing these quirky, off-kilter stories.
Yeah.
but they're fascinating.
Absolutely.
And that's why I love him as a filmmaker. Like, he picks these stories that are just so goofball, but you can't turn away from him.
Yeah, and it's not filled with this crazy bombastic action.
No.
There's no real fight scenes in this that like.
Well, even the first film he did, Slacker, has no defined story to it at all, and it's a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it, but I agree with you.
It's not a shocker that you haven't seen it. So
I've realized on this show that my filler word is yeah. I say yeah a lot, and
So
I'm
do I.
so sorry.
Well, that's where you and I get along so well.
I would go cut it out, but I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no.
But the movie is super entertaining. It is R-rated. I mean, this is not a family film.
No, and it's mainly for language and a little bit of sex to it, but it's not blatant and it's not glaring.
Yeah,
and it's not gratuitous. Or at least I didn't think so.
No, I don't think, because it's one of the few movies where I can say that there's a story reason to it.
Yeah.
And there's no. I don't think anyone ever flashes a body part that they shouldn't. So it's actually. I guess one could say, if there were a film critic, that it's tasteful nudity that does not require one to shield one's eyes. But yeah, it's pretty tame on that for something that has as much sex as this does in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And a lot of language, a lot of grown up themes and things like that. But overall, yeah, if you like kind of quirky comedy a little bit and dark humor, and you're a fan of good performances with
good twists,
twists and stuff.
Yeah, great writing.
Yeah, basically, if you like good things, you'll like this.
Yes,
I think is what we're trying to say. But yeah, overall, I would definitely. This is one I'd recommend as like study this movie for like what makes a good kind of. It's not that the stakes are small, but it's not a world-ending, it's just, will this certain character end up in jail or not by the end? That's really what you're questioning.
Yeah, and it's funny that the chief of police is so oblivious.
Yeah, right? All right, let's get into spoilers. Let's talk about that scene. Okay. So spoilers for Hitman from here on out.
Yeah.
But yeah, go if you have Netflix, it's worth a watch. I would think.
Definitely.
If you're under 18, I will not recommend it to you because the baby Jesus would not ask me to. But,
so just watch it when your parents aren't around.
Yep. That is not an official endorsement from Grand Avenue Theater or Solar Flight Productions, but it is from the Grand Review. Yeah. But yeah, I want to talk about that scene because basically at this point in the movie, Jasper, the kind of corrupt cop, has really figured out that
what's going on.
Gary is in bed with what is her name?
The suspect. I don't remember, but I just know she was good looking.
Her name. That's some man brain right there.
Well, they had to put something to appeal to guys in that other than.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to watch Glenn Powell, but Adria Arjona, I think is how Arjona.
And she was a good actress. Not to mention that she looked good, but she was a good actress.
Yeah, she's very, very good. I thought their performance and their chemistry was fantastic,
and it was believable.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really hard to establish that like from the get-go.
That's where I know her from. She was in Morbius.
Ooh, that's why I don't remember her.
Oh, she was also in that fantastic Netflix movie, 6 Underground.
What's that?
That's the one with Ryan Reynolds and
never saw it.
It's bad.
Okay, that's all you need to know.
She was in Pacific Rim Uprising, the movie of the century.
That's
right
another
there.
Bad one. I've forgotten that.
I would look if I was her. I would definitely fire my agent, but keep working because she's fantastic.
Yeah.
She's really good.
So it just kind of shows too, like with the right role, what you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really was laughing hard though when Glenn Powell, Gary Johnson, and Jasper are talking over the table, and Jasper has figured out that Madison and Gary are seeing each other,
right.
and that he probably has something to do with this murder somehow. He's connected to it in some way, and they're going back and forth, and they are not being subtle about this at all. And everyone at the table just like, okay,
yeah,
like absolute morons.
And they're all sitting there. Well, is there a connection? What do you think? Do you think you need to investigate this a little bit? I'm like, oh my God, you are so stupid.
Yeah, they're absolute morons. but you know, it's
and that's the funny thing about laughing at that scene, and it makes it that much more funnier is that you sit there going, oh my God, really?
Well, and Jasper also as a character, I really grew to like love watching, especially after that, they go out to the bar where Gary had pulled a gun on Ray. And Jasper starts sniffing around on the ground. He's like,
oh yeah.
And Gary's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm looking for the boyfriend.
Yeah,
there he is. And like goes over to Gary. It's great. It's full of great little characters, things like that, where the actors are they're allowed to kind of have fun with these people.
And I think that's all contributed to Linklater's direction to this. That's what he's good at.
Yeah, he's fantastic at those characters and letting. I think one of the reasons that as a director, it works for him is because he allows the actors to try things.
Right.
And I think you can really tell that with the different characters that Gary's playing as these different hitmen and stuff, you know, they were throwing ideas around and having fun and then went, okay, how can we like ground that just enough that it's still ridiculous and shows how stupid these people are that are trying to hire a hitman, but also do it well enough that you believe each one of those characters.
Because the whole thing is like Glenn Powell's character, he's not even a cop.
Yeah, no, he's not.
Like he's a technical advisor or something.
Yes, because he's good with tech.
He works on the wires and stuff that they use during the sting operations.
Yeah, so he's there to help with the radio.
Yeah, so he ends up in this situation completely not of his making. And how far deep does he get into this? You know?
It's so good. I really love it.
Yeah.
And I think two of my favorite moments, they were probably the most ridiculous moments in the movie. But they both had to do just with the character he was playing as Gary playing a hitman. And the first one that made me really laugh was the guy with like the orange coat and he looks like a ginger guy and he's put all these freckles on his face and he's got the red hair wig and he's got the gloves on and he's holding his collar and he's like, oh yes, I would love to kill them. Just it's ridiculous and I loved that. But then I laughed so hard when he was looking at the Russian accent.
Yes.
And so just for context, and this is why I thought it was really funny. When I was growing up, there was a YouTube channel called FPS Russia, which is no longer around anymore. But the guy he was up in Ohio or something, but he posted all these videos and used a Russian accent and just showed off guns and exploding things. And so he would be like, today we are going to take AK-47. We are going to shoot at this fridge and then he's going to explode.
So it's
and then he shoots
almost like Borat with weapons?
Sort of, yeah. and like there's this thing where it actually happened. It was not staged where he shot this fridge and the door comes by and hits the top of the gun off of this fridge, which was like 100 yards away. So this thing went really far. And then right past his head and he turns around and he goes, have a nice day. Like just great stuff. So I grew up doing that accent because it always made me laugh. And then we get to the part of the movie where he's playing a Russian hitman with this lady, and she's like, "You could have this speedboat. You just can't sell it in Louisiana because it's got an insurance claim out on it." And he goes, "Speedboat, like Miami Vice." it's one line, and it's so perfectly delivered. And yeah, I loved that.
The only thing I couldn't figure out though too is like he was in court. He's supposed to be like undercover and not to be known to anybody, but he's sitting in court while all these trials are going on too. And I'm like, and they obviously figure out that it's him that has turned them, you know, he was the undercover agent that has been turning them all in. Yeah. And they all just kind of look at him with this content and he's like, yep, hi. Yeah.
Well, and I think that there's a case to be made that, you know, perhaps they feel like he's protected enough because he's already connected to the police. So if they go after him, they'll know who to look for. But
but it didn't stop the girl's ex-husband.
Yeah.
He was determined.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That whole scene where they're back to back in that restaurant and
good.
he's the ex-husband is trying to hire him to kill himself and the
He's like, it's real easy. You just hand over the money and I'll do it. He's like, I think I crap myself. Yeah,
And that whole, like, you're sitting there on the edge of your seat the whole time going, okay, when is this going to reveal itself? Like, it's going to come out at some point that he's going to recognize this guy and completely know what's going on here.
Yeah. Especially because Ron is the one who's closest to how Gary looks.
Right.
So Gary's playing this character, Ron, and Ron is dating Madison. And so that whole thing too, so I loved the performance and the way he switched between them, especially when we get to the point where he finally goes in and reveals to Madison that he's not actually a hitman.
Yeah.
After he finds out that she killed Ray.
Yeah.
And his response, the body language change, and how he starts talking when he switches back to being Gary, it's subtle, but it is defined. If that makes any sense at all.
It's almost like there's no boundary between the two characters at that point that he's playing.
Right, yeah. But at the beginning, the way he walks, the way he holds himself, everything, and there's the conversation that he has with his ex-wife earlier on with Molly Bernard, who I'd not seen before, but Molly Bernard does a fantastic job in the one scene that she has. She was really, really good. But they're having that conversation about how you can change yourself. And that's what the movie is all about. They have this philosophical conversation, and then it becomes that as you see him wanting to be this person that Madison likes. And then how that kind of starts bleeding into how he acts in court and how he acts in his day-to-day life. And it's so... it's one of those things where they set it up enough that... you notice it, but they're not beating you over the head with it either. And I appreciated that from a screenplay perspective.
Paul Feig needs to take notes from this.
Yes, absolutely. Also, wear a t-shirt sometimes. You look like a turd. I loved that so much, and I loved seeing that first scene where he first becomes a hitman for that first job, and then the moment that he steps away from the guy who was trying to hire him, his walk changes and he goes back to being real stiff and stuff. It is good performance art. It is really, like, when you talk about actors doing art, especially in a comedy, it's hard to do that because it's easy to fall into the trap. He doesn't fall into that trap, and I respect the heck out of that.
Yeah,
it is such a good performance. I cannot. I'm geeking out.
See, that's where I really wish he gets another role like this, not the stuff that he's been doing lately.
Yeah. I mean, Twisters, I'm sure he'll be fine in. But there's not much you can do with that except be charming man.
Correct.
And look.
It's not going to be a stretch. It's not going to be growing as an actor. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I say that as someone who is genuinely flabbergasted by men who can be suave. That is a performance I've never been able to pull off. But
yeah, me neither.
But I think that it's so interesting to see actors when they get the chance to do something that's not stiff.
It's
action
not their
hero.
wheelhouse.
Yeah, and man, I want to see him do more stuff like this.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry to go over that.
I say the same thing about from Identity Thief and all those.
Yeah,
I'm drawing a blank on her name right now.
It is Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, I really wish she would break out of that and do something, because I think I mentioned on a podcast before, she did one film that was not her typical. That's a really good film, and I so want her to do more stuff like that, and I just don't see it.
Yeah, I'm sure that some of it just comes down to box office return. I mean, look, the budget for this the budget for this movie was $8.8 million. That's it.
See, and that could have great. If all they needed to do was market Glenn Powell in this quirky, dark comedy, and it would have made that money back at the box office if they released it in theaters easily.
The box office says 1 million, so I'm guessing they did Netflix will do limited theatrical runs so that things can qualify for Academy Awards. So all right, some people got to see this in theaters, and I am jealous.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's a movie. Watch it on the biggest screen you can.
Yeah.
Really, it is like...
Well,
it
not
is,
IMAX, but...
No, I'd watch it in IMAX.
No.
I want to see every little teeny tiny freckle on that ginger hitman's face.
The worst IMAX experience that I've had was Poseidon. because there's like this huge close up of Richard Dreyfuss's face.
Oh Lord,
that's ultimately frightening.
That is way scarier than any horror movie I can imagine.
It is.
Yeah. I did just want to point out, like when we talk about Glenn Powell getting more roles. So I just want to read out that the cast list on Wikipedia says Glenn Powell as Gary Johnson, college professor and tech guy turned undercover mole, which means he could replace Nicolas Cage in G-Force 2.
I mentioned it first.
I know, but I put more work into mine.
So what does that say about you and your improvisation that it really is bad?
I suck.
Yeah.
But you know what? Darn it. I
come off with that at the top of my head.
All right. You know what? You're the host now. You introduce the show.
I'm just a bigger sarcastic person than you are.
What else can we talk about in this? Yeah, the chemistry between those two main characters is fantastic.
It's really good.
Jasper is he kind of
the great scumbag cop.
He's great at it, and the first scene doesn't really let you know how good he is at it.
No, because he seems to be kind of a goofball at first. Is like, do I really take this guy seriously? But as the movie goes on, you go, oh. Yeah, he needs to be dealt with like easily.
Yeah, we should discuss now that the basically everything past this guy was a fake hitman with the cops is faked.
Yeah.
So I saw Richard Linklater said, well, we read the story and we thought, wow, that's incredible. This guy, became all these different hitmen to help put people behind bars. And then we just asked the question, what would happen if that guy happened to fall in love on a job? And then we took it from there. So everything past that is just like, brr. It is true that the real Gary did actually help a woman who was trying to hire him get to a shelter and some other things. So that did happen in real life. But anything past that is all fiction. And I love that in the credits, it shows like all of his accolades and stuff.
Yeah.
And then says, no murders. We made that part up.
Yeah.
So I wonder how the family feels about this, because he's passed on, unfortunately.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Gary's no longer with us, but I wonder how the family feels about that.
I haven't read anything, so either they're dealing with it or they just chose not to watch it.
Maybe so. I love the dialogue.
Yeah.
I love how snappy and quippy it is. And
that's how Dazed and Confused is too.
Oh, is it?
So yeah.
Okay.
And that's, once again, that's what Richard Linklater is good at.
I'm going to go back and go through his catalog. I absolutely love his stuff.
Even he did the remake of The Bad News Bears. That's not widely publicized that like he did that, because that was kind of big film with Billy Bob Thornton, and it's actually a pretty decent remake.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through and I've been on set with the man. I should probably see more stuff that he's done.
See, I'm jealous.
I didn't get to talk to him, so
I would like an hour just to sit down and talk with him about stuff.
Yeah, well. If wishes were fishes, we'd be sitting here chewing on salmon instead of chewing on our own words.
Another thing that I found on Max, even though the sound and quality on that is horrible, there's a series called God Save Texas, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
About all these Texas filmmakers talking about Texas and different viewpoints and things that are going on in the state. And Richard Linklater is the first episode.
Oh, really? Okay.
And like he was born and raised in Huntsville. Mm-hmm. And there's 5 prisons around that town. So a lot of the film the episode is, the goofy people that are still living in this town. And one of the interesting that the guy's administrator makes horror films, which I thought was amazing. But also the perspective on the death penalty.
Yeah.
And how that's handled and how he goes back and forth with that and has like an inner turmoil about it. I didn't see the whole thing yet. I really need to, but what I saw was fascinating, and I really need to like watch the rest of that.
Yeah, I'm looking at his filmography here. I completely forgot that he did School of Rock.
Yeah,
School of Rock's great.
Yeah,
it's so good. I need to watch the Before trilogy as well, and I have seen Bernie. Funny enough, I'm in Boyhood. I haven't seen it.
I've seen Boyhood. Because that's the one everybody made fun of me because I told people I was going to see a 3-hour film about life, and they're like, "You're kidding, right?" And I'm like, "No."
Such an interesting experiment, though, as a film.
12 years
12
to make that film.
Yeah.
And it doesn't miss a beat. Like you would never, unless you knew that, you would never knew that film took 12 years to make.
Yeah, I think they were very careful, and yes, I think they stuck with film through the whole production. I could be wrong about that. I can't remember. Maybe they didn't. But anyway, but yeah, Hitman. I love where it goes at the end, and it's like the tension builds as Jasper's kind of getting clued in on what's going on, but he's also like kind of playing Gary by being his friend and covering for him, but then he figures out like, oh wait, now maybe there's something in this for me, and then he reveals what he knows. And that final scene, I mean, I called it when she said I'll get the beer. I was like, oh, she's gonna kill him. I thought she was gonna come over and just hit him over the head with it.
I actually thought she was gonna kill both of them.
Good, yeah, I guess that also could have happened.
I really pegged like she's gonna bury both of these guys.
Yeah. I mean, and I did wonder at some points, is she playing him? Does she know? Is she playing him? Because running into Jasper, like she could have clued in that something was weird there and started. Because I
had like that Dirty Rotten Scoundrel vibe.
Yeah.
Like how that film turns out too. Yeah. So that's where I really thought it was going with that.
It just does its own thing though. Like the fact that she's like, we can't get away with killing a cop, and he's like, in Jasper's case, I'm thinking we can.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's a great line. That's great. I was totally shocked by that point. Like when he started helping her to cover up the fact that she murdered Ray, I was like, I kind of understand. I mean, I get it.
You don't want this great woman to go to prison.
Right. Yeah. You want to marry her. And that one as well. Yeah. But then, when he killed Jasper, I was like, dadgum. And right before that, Jasper had said, the only reason I am 100% sure that you did it is because I am 100% sure that this man couldn't kill a fly. And then it's like, you are less than a fly.
Joke's on you.
Yeah. And, yeah, man, the tension in that scene is great, and it is not some big bombastic thing. It's
all dialogue and acting.
Yeah, it's a masterclass in showing how to build a scene so that tension builds, and you are really wondering, all right, what are we gonna do here?
Right.
And I appreciate this movie on so many levels.
Yep.
It really is. It really is good.
So if you don't have Netflix, like find out somebody's password and just start streaming it.
I've heard Netflix loves when people do that. So.
Well,
I don't care. They suck.
Exactly.
Yeah, Netflix is awful. They're full of. I mean, they cancel anything that's good. They keep going with anything that's terrible. And for some reason, they keep. Why is the app set to autoplay trailers when I'm just scrolling through? Make it a 3-second delay.
And Prime started doing that too, and it's annoying.
I had to turn it off.
I hate
on both.
that.
I can't do it. It's so. Let me browse in peace.
Yeah, I can actually read. I can see what the film is about.
I can't do that, but I look at the pretty pictures on the.
See, and that's everybody's with Instagram and Twitter now. Like they can't type; they actually have to have pictures because they're too dumb to read.
They can't that and like, but also ironically, everything has to have captions on it so people can watch with their sound off. But then people are like, no, I don't want to read anything. I'm like, you sat there and watched a 10-minute video where someone didn't say anything of importance and read every word they said while you were sitting in the car. What's wrong with you? Can you read or can you not read? Read a book. Read something that someone's put some thought into, not just some idiot rambling. Anyway, thanks for listening to our show. I loved the angle of the psychology playing into things and how much they kind of let that be like your guide for how Gary's looking at this. I find psychology endlessly fascinating. And I think
until you take a psychology and film class and the main focus of that is A Clockwork Orange.
Okay, well that's not interesting. That's disturbing.
That was a class I had to take.
I feel very, very, very bad for you, and I'm very sorry.
And that's why I can't watch A Clockwork Orange anymore.
I can't watch it the first time. The first time I saw the long shot where it goes through that weird, creepy warehouse, and then they all drink milk, I was like, this is not for me.
And that was made in 1970.
Good on Stanley Kubrick for knowing how to make that extremely unsettling. Don't do it, though.
But every couple of years, I always hear that somebody's going to try and remake that. I'm like, why?
Because we can't have nice things.
No.
We can't have nice things without ruining it with a new, shiny, worse version of it.
just as long as they don't. Ever since John Hughes passed away, they always talk about remaking those films too, and I'm like, no, don't. Those films are timeless. They still hold up today. They're like The Breakfast Club. There is still, in today's society, even with kids, they have the same problems they did when I was a teenager when I saw that film, and they don't need to change that.
Do you want to hear something shocking?
What?
What do you think I'm going to say?
They're remaking it.
No.
What?
No, just about me seeing The Breakfast Club.
Oh, that you haven't seen it?
I have seen it.
Oh, wow. Wait. Wow.
That's right.
How about that?
I didn't like it. I was bored most of the time. And
but
I know that's
how old
sacrilege.
were you when you saw it?
23.
Okay, maybe get older, try it again. Because I know
you're assuming that I'll mature in that time.
Well,
that's a mistake.
I guess so. But then, like over the weekend too, when I was sick, I finally watched The Big Chill, which everybody makes a big deal about that film. I hated it. I couldn't wait for that film to be over. I didn't quite get the whole point of it. Yeah, and it was one of Lawrence Kasdan's first film that he directed, and it's got a huge cast. It's got like Tom Berenger, Kevin Kline, Glenn Close, Meg Tilly. It's got all these stars.
I liked his work on The Empire Strikes Back. Honestly, best Star Wars movie.
I still think the best film that Lawrence Kasdan ever made was Silverado.
I have not seen Silverado.
No, what a shock.
Wait. Oh, okay. I was about to say, because John Hughes apparently is credited on Drillbit Taylor. Do you remember that? But he just did story though. So he was credited as Edmond Dantes, which means he didn't want to be connected to it.
Right.
So, okay. Also, Home Sweet Home Alone. It's based on his work on Home Alone.
Well.
So he's not being blamed for the new one, which is bad. But yeah, okay. Well, anything else you want to say about Hitman? I think
no, I think we summed that up pretty well.
Yeah, I think it really is.
It's a good movie.
I'm probably going to watch it again in the next month. Like I want to go back and watch it and find new things that I had missed the first time, because it is from that first frame to the credits, it is fun the whole way through.
It is.
So yeah. Alrighty. Well, I guess we can call it a day then.
Yeah, we'll skip the movie news this week.
Yeah, well, I mean, technically we have to be back in here recording in like 3 days anyway, so whatever.
Yeah,
we'll catch up on news then.
So did we do a Quiet Place? Day one's going to be our next one.
Yep, that's our next one.
Okay,
and it's the first Quiet Place without John Krasinski, so I am skeptical but hopeful still. Especially after watching If.
Yeah, but he's not connected with this, so that should give you more optimism.
After seeing If, yes, but knowing the history of the Quiet Place movies, I'm like, well, he did really good with those.
Okay, have you seen the other two?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
and I really like both of them. I really like those movies.
It's funny, those films from a psychological viewpoint, from exhibitors, like going into those theaters, you never have a problem with those audiences ever, because it psychologically terrifies them that they're off their phones. They don't make any sounds. They don't bother anybody in the auditorium.
It is impossible to smooch your lover when any tiny noise will like if a mosquito farts in a Quiet Place movie, you hear it.
Well, I just love the fact that it does that to audiences.
Yeah.
It shows how engaged they are in that story too, which is great.
Yeah, which is the same way I was with Hitman, and I was that way with Bikeriders too. Like I was really engaged. So
just Hitman was a little better. I do have to agree with you on that. Just for dark humor and entertainment value, you know.
Yes.
But they're two different kind of films.
Yeah,
too.
they are not competitors at all.
No.
And I think from a biographical sort of, well, they both kind of are, but Hitman's more made up.
Yeah.
But from a biographical film standpoint, The Bikeriders is really good. It's
Yeah,
really
it
good,
is.
and it doesn't fall into the sentimental trap that you get with some things about like particular famous figures, you know, Elvis. But
it's funny that you mentioned that because the same guy that was in Elvis.
Yep. But it is, just a really fascinating film. And then Hitman is entertainment.
Yeah.
It is entertainment done with a degree of artistic sensibility that elevates it beyond just the simple idea of how many silly hitmen can we make up.
And if Richard Linklater actually listens to this, please come and sit on our podcast. I would love to talk to you.
I'll shut up. If he comes on this show, I will actually close my mouth and just listen.
That's a shock. So I really want to see that happen.
It would be the first time in human history that I've shut up. So, Quiet Place Day One, the director is Michael Sarnowski, who did Pig in 2021 with
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, the first mole from G-Force 1. And then and that's pretty much he's done some short films. He did a couple of things in 2012 on TV, Fight Night Legacy and Olympia.
I think it's going to be hard to screw this up, though, to be honest.
You went to film school?
Yeah.
So you know that's not true.
No, that's true.
It's anything's easy to mess up.
That's how The Room came about.
Yeah. Well, in my experience, I found I can mess up anything, especially the intro to this show.
No.
Especially the intro to this show.
I
never
think
plan ahead.
It gives our show character and is a little bit different from everybody else's.
I suppose
so. That's fine.
Okay, cool. Well, I think maybe we can call it a week there. Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. I had some very, very nice little conversations with some of the employees here. Kent was talking to me, and he was like, "Wait, are you guys doing the podcast?" And I went, "Yeah, we're recording." He goes, "Yes!" I was like, "That's no one's ever been that excited for something
honestly,
I make before."
My staff listens to it, I think, more than anybody else.
That's awesome.
And that is it. And I was told too, they see a different side of me.
Yeah,
from like the manager that I have to be. So
because you're happy when we do this,
right? Well, they're always shocked at like how much they're like. How do you know all this stuff? I'm like years of amassing all this vast, useless information. I might add.
Hey, it's not useless. It's now being used to entertain tens of people. 10 people. Almost 10 people.
Awesome. So
the numbers are dropping.
Shout out to my staff. Thank you for your support.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
Shout out to Andy's staff. I appreciate the support very much.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
They're great kids.
I love all the people here. It's really is.
Yeah.
It's great to come here. Which reminds me, if you're listening to the show, come check out Grand Avenue Theater downtown Belton. It is the place to see movies.
No, not really downtown, and we're not the Beltonian either. That's
we're not the Belton. Yeah, I say we. I used to work here. I can claim that.
Okay. I'll be here until I retire.
I'll be here until I'm tired.
Okay.
Which is now. So, all right. Well, we'll see you next week when we talk about A Quiet Place Day One and we do the news.
Yeah, we'll have some news next time.
And until then, we. I had an ending planned and I forgot it. So
take care, y'all.
We'll see you at the movies. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.